that sound like we are the world all together again? I'm sorry.
We are the world. I'm talking about the world. The world was celebrating on Wednesday, and it was celebrating World Water Day. I suppose you'll be thinking, what is there to celebrate? Billions of people in the world don't have clean water, so what is there to celebrate? Well, that's not for me to answer. We have guests who are going to answer that. But every day, millions of women and school-age children, please note, most of the time is women, who carry these things on their heads and travel sometimes miles to go look for water, which may even be of poor quality. There was a video making the rounds some time ago about a child drinking water from a stream. I wouldn't even call it a stream, I just call it a hole. And the water was mud. I can't even say muddy water. It was mud. And this child was drinking the water.
Channels Television went to, I'm not sure which northern state as well, and that's the exact picture that we took. So it wasn't just a fluke.
So there's been plenty of effort the world over to ensure that there's potable water for people, but I don't know how much result the world is getting from that effort. Well, we can find out from our panel this morning. We're joined by Adedayo Mark Adeyemi, Senior WASH Specialist. WASH meaning Water, Sanitation and Hygiene Specialist, as well as Organizational Development Expert. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And on this side is Engineer Sonny Elisha, Deputy Chief of Party and Service Strengthening Lead, USAID Nigeria, Lagos Urban Water, Sanitation and Hygiene, LUWASH. Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us this morning. Now let me just go straight to cut it to the chase. How much success is the world making in providing potable water for its populations?
Yeah. First, we would have to look at it from the direction of the challenge that the world is facing with respect to access to safely managed or potable water, like you would say. If there is any existential stress that the world is facing, when you talk about climate change, the most critical element that is hugely affected is the issue of access to water. So much has been said and so much is being done. And I would want to say that whenever we declare World Water Day, while we would look at it as a celebration of achievements, but also we're looking at it from a perspective of projecting the need for water usage, water consumption, and water management. So across the world, we see governments making efforts to get their people have water, but the efforts are far, far behind demand. In fact, the present thinking is that each of the governments have to do a little bit 4 or 5 times more than they're doing now.
Okay. Mr. Makadeyemi, governments are making efforts to provide water for their citizens. We are in Nigeria. How much effort is our government making? Considering that in Lagos State, I'm not sure that there are too many households who are supplied water by the state. More and more people are sinking their own boreholes, even though they don't really get potable water from those things.
There's been a lot of efforts that the government has made over the years. I recall in the past 20 years, we've spent billions of dollars, and a lot of this coming from development partners. There are 37 water corporations in Nigeria, that's including Abuja. They have staff. They spend an average of about 500 million on their operating expenses, pay salaries of these guys on a monthly basis.
Monthly?
Yes.
500 million?
No, 500 million yearly, an average. So maybe 30, 40 million, depending on the number of staff. But you have 37 of them running. You have rural water agencies in all the states. Some of them have small town, and there may be 3 or 4 regulatory agencies. And then, of course, at the water resources level at the federal ministry, you have several agencies. So when it comes to having the structure in place, when it comes to spending money on constant basis, the government have been doing that.
But how much water are they producing?
That's the question. That's the question that affects the entire country, not just even water. Value for money, do we get water to the people despite these efforts? So if we want to talk about why this is, we won't leave this place today. So,
Mr. Makadeyemi, when I was growing up in Lagos as a little girl, there were public, they were not called taps, they were called pumps, because they were massive. And you could go there and do this and drink water.
I do that often.
Even in our schools, the taps had running water, and you could also do this. And we didn't, okay, we only read about typhoid in the subject referred to in those days as hygiene. You didn't know what typhoid was, because the water was potable water, clean, clear water, and nothing happened to you from drinking that water. But you wouldn't dare do that now, just open a tap and do this. In fact, you open the tap, will the water come out?
The taps are not even there. Now, it's a big challenge, and like I said, you probably want to talk about leadership, commitment, political will from political leaders. You want to talk about governance, even within the value chain. Of course, the issue of corruption also comes into play. You don't get value for money for investment and all that. You were in this country where we had people who commissioned water projects, and the overhead tank was actually loaded by a tanker from somewhere else. So the governor was there for photo ops, or the commissioner, whoever did it, was just for photo ops. They turned the tap, and the day after, the people did not get water. So we have this whole thing that has culminated to where we are today. But thanks...
my apologies, should those water corporations still remain in existence? I mean, it sounds, simplistic when we say these things. But okay, for instance, let me bring it to you, Engineer Elisha. So the United Nations Secretary General said that the goal of safely managed water and sanitation for every individual might not be achieved by 2030. That's him saying that. In our own country as well, the most we have heard from stakeholders like the Society of Engineers, Institution of Environmental Engineers, they continue to harp on the importance of potable water for the survival of individuals. Yet we have this infrastructure that Mr. Makadeyemi says, they exist. What do you think could be the challenge or the inhibitions that they may be having that's making them not as effective as they should be?
Okay, I think Adedayo raised critical issues, for example. You're having utilities whose management is not being supported by those who appointed them. Supported in what sense? First, even basic operational funds. Now, you have 10, 20, 100, 300 staff, and you only release their salaries to them. What do you expect? So there is the issue of relatively high budgeting and poor releases. So there is no funds available to operate the systems. There is the issue of infrastructure that has been there from time immemorial. If we're talking of Lagos, some has been there since 1910, the kind of a thing. 1950 seems to be the most recent, and then of much more recent 2013, where a few of the suburbs were accessed with water. So we have those challenges. Then we have little or no monitoring. There are no performance, in the whole country, there is no performance-based contract between government and the utilities. So neither management is feeling incentivized to work, and neither the staff are they incentivized to work. In fact, amongst the water corporations, less than 10 are even having board of directors. So there are systems that are, to be fair to them, nearly amorphous. What do we expect out of such organizations when they are not being supported and when there is no accountability? Some of us have been moving for improved efficiency. Oftentimes people want to say more taps, more pipe network, more water treatment plants. But substantially speaking, that might not be the ready answer. The little that you have, how effective are you managing it? So SDG 6 will not be achieved, like the UN person is saying, as long as we are not projecting efficiencies in the system. We are not monitoring to improve those systems. We are not funding to keep those systems going. And some people used to say, whenever you do infrastructural development in water, you bury the pipes. And politicians really are interested in seeing things that are overhead, like overhead bridge, like
that can be seen.
That can be seen. Since Dr. Soso person as governor did this. But when it comes to water utility, you bury the pipes. And you put in £1 billion there, and you
nobody sees it.
Nobody sees it, so they don't really want to commit to such an amount of money.
Oh, God.
And then the issue of the elephant in the room, energy.
Yeah.
If you go to water treatment plants, you would see that there are heavy-duty pumps that require so much of money, or so much electricity, rather, to power. And when you connect them to the grid, the what do you call it? The electricity rate will be huge. I know of one of the states, I don't know whether it's allowed to say here, they were paying over 100 million per month for their energy, yet it was not sufficient. Lagos at a certain time, they were paying over 200 million a month, yet it was not sufficient. So we need energy.
200 million naira to power
yeah,
water
when it was the
infrastructure.
IPP, yeah, when it was in the IPP, they were paying 200, 250 every month, right?
And Mr. Makadem, there's also the problem of Nigerians expecting water to be a social service, not to be paid for. How much does that add to this thing we're talking about, this equation?
Now, I mean, it's demand driven. People need water.
We all need water, but we don't want to pay for it.
But people are paying already. They're paying for the alternative. Now think about it. You're a family of 6.
Sink a borehole.
No, that doesn't even go to borehole. You're a family of 6.
Yeah.
And you take an average of 2 sachet water per person per day. That's 40 times 6. That's 240 naira per day. Look at it in 30 days. No utility will charge you that amount of money for using much more, you know? So the bottom line is the people are paying. It's just perception. If the utilities provide water and the government has political will to support the utilities so that the utilities can enforce their customer service code, you know, the user pay or I disconnect you or whatever. In urban areas, people will pay because they are already paying. Some are also paying for the cost of health, you know, and all that. So it's the ability to pay is there. We've not tested the willingness because the services are not there anymore. I was talking to Sonia, I said, in time past, when you're putting up this property, there's a likelihood that there's a line already. You just pay the utilities and you tap. But now the moment you buy your property, you're calling for somebody to come and sink borehole. So nobody's even expecting, nobody is looking forward to get that public service.
But don't you think it's because that pipe you're talking about most likely has no water flowing through it?
That's even if you know there's pipe there at all.
Yeah.
The issues are, I mean, the gap, there's a massive gap. But the way our communities are evolving, and when you look at the cost of the alternative, I can assure you, and based on a lot of studies we've done, people are willing to pay if they get the services. Albeit, even in the national policy, there's a consideration for rural areas, there's a consideration for semi-urban and urban. We don't expect full cost recovery from the rural area because of the level of economy, the economic activities and all that. But for people who are living in the urban area, we expect full cost recovery, and we know they can afford it, and if they get the services, they would pay for it.
The challenge, one of the challenges, Engineer Elisha, is that of communication. You said it the other time. Some government official came, possibly invited a superior officer to come and commission the project. And as soon as they are gone, that same day or the very next day, the just commissioned infrastructure is non-functional. Now, how do we persuade those people to invest, as you are proposing, or to even pay for services that they are not sure will be sustained?
Yeah, I think we should probably look at that from the point of accountability, right? First, these utility systems, their management, their board, through to government, are they accountable to the customers? Are the customers also asking questions? When last did customers go to a utility and were asking why is it that we are not having water? Somehow, the populace have accepted the failure of the system.
But do you blame them? I'm not saying it's the right thing, because just as Alero said the other time, you know, she hinted at civil servants. To a large extent, many of the people who are supposed to serve you through the civil service consider themselves to be lords. So superior to the system that they're not accountable to anyone. So how do we?
One of the efforts I did during a USAID project in Bauchi was to help midwife a memorandum of understanding between civil society organizations and the utility. What was it? That the utility would always give information to the civil service, to the civil society organizations.
Were they giving them water to start with?
Yes, no, there was a World Bank project, and they were producing, right? So first we were talking of communication, we needed the information first, because the normal civil servant will not give you the information.
Of course.
So what we did is to midwife a memorandum of understanding. Hey, CSO and media, please, whenever these people give you information, don't spin it against them. Just use it for what it is. Because when you spin it wrongly, when you represent what they told you wrongly, they lose trust and they would never give you
credibility.
So we undertook that and said, okay, you, Bauchi State Water Corporation, please always give CSOs and media, always use it decently. And there's been some substantial progress. We believe that the CSOs, the CBOs, should come in strongly in terms of monitoring the performance of utilities. We also think, for example, that there should be town hall meetings by management to their customers. We also expect customer forums, and forums where you go and explain what is happening. If we don't have water, please tell us why. And hopefully in Lagos, in the next 1 year or so, we are going to have what is called a social contract. A social contract which is a binding document between the community and the water utility. You say, this is much more than a customer care service charter. No, this is a social contract where the people are demanding and you are agreeing to offer these services for this time and at so rate, while the populace, the customers, are also undertaking to pay. Because one of the challenges that we're having in Nigeria is that people don't seem to pay their bills. In East Africa, the rate of paying of bill is about 60-75%. Down in South Africa, it's about 80-85%.
In Nigeria?
But in Nigeria, it's about 20-30%. I have managed utility before. During my time in Kaduna, it was one of the most successful times, but I could not achieve more than 30%. So people don't seem to want to pay their bills.
Water bills, you're talking
yes,
about.
water bills, of course.
Yeah, but if you don't pay your bill, doesn't your water stop running?
Yeah, there is a challenge on how to disconnect water. While with the energy, you just need to press a button.
Yes.
Like we were saying, reset in the last session, you just press a button and you don't have, or get a ladder and just climb there. Most of the time, those of the water utility, they have to spend so much energy trying to dig through to the pipe. And the person in the house knows that you even don't know where the pipe is. That's on the grounds that there's no shenanigans of water theft, which is a critical thing in Lagos. For example, water theft where people will try to get a tap underneath their foundation.
I think you have successfully raised more issues
underneath their foundation, so that no human being other than they who constructed it would know. So the little tap at the front of the estate will be showing 5,000 naira, 2,000 naira, 5,000 every month, while in reality tanks, underground tanks, are being fed by the day. These are the challenges that the system.
I think we
but
need
a few years ago, Lagos State put water meters.
Exactly.
How are those doing?
Quickly. Not good because of a wrong mentality. First, the practitioners think that the water meter is against them. Secondly, the customers think that the water meter is against them. I, as an expert, I stand to say today that water meters help the two parties. One, it helps you as a customer to pay according to consumption.
Yes.
Two, it helps you as a supply service provider to manage, because the people inside the house manage the consumption. They don't want the meter to run out.
Exactly.
So they manage the consumption, therefore you're able to extend, the services are able to be extended to those who do not have.
Alero, we need to press reset on water too.
There are plenty of reset buttons we need to press today.
Yes.
Well, anyway.
So let's go for meter, no matter how expensive. Go ask them that you want your meter.
So prepaid meter for water.
So if I don't pay, my meter just shuts off. Full off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Happy Water Day, everybody. Mr. Engineer Sonny Elisha, Deputy Chief of Party and Service Strengthening Lead, USAID Nigeria, Lagos Urban Water Sanitation and Hygiene, LUWASH. And we also had Mr. Adedayo Mark Adeyemi, Senior WASH Specialist, Organizational Development Expert.
Thank you. I have an information for the government, for the political authorities, quickly. Now, we're running at a risk because everybody is digging boreholes, and most boreholes are close to septic tanks. So there's a tendency for what you call E. coli contamination for raw water. And everybody is throwing sachets around. We don't have the capacity to regulate quality. There is no substitute for public water supply.
Again.
And the authorities must know this because we are sitting on a time bomb.
Again, press reset.
Water works. That message was for you. Thank you very much for coming, sharing your insights with us this morning, and thank you for staying with us. Sunrise will be right back with the lifestyle segment.